Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Heal to Heal podcast. We're so glad you're with us today. We have a wonderful guest today. This man is somebody who knows firsthand what it is like to go through a breaking season, but not to land there, but to let that come into something wonderful.
For many years, Jason Heinritz was climbing the ranks of success, leading one of the top performing teams in direct sales and building a life that looked impressive from the outside. But then everything shifted in what he calls a journey of demotion in the world's eyes, but promotion in God's kingdom. Jason traded striving for surrender. He stepped off that performance treadmill and into deeper presence with Jesus. This radical shift birthed a movement known as Wake Up Jesus People and has since led to a book, a journal, and the transformational 40 Forge Challenge, which is a 40-day mental, spiritual, and physical training to help believers build holy habits that actually last. Today, Jason is a husband, a dad, a church planter, and a passionate voice. He is calling this generation out of spiritual autopilot into a life of bold faith, of power and fire.
His journey is so aligned with our mission here at Heal to Heal, and so we're thrilled to have him. Jason, welcome to the show.
Kathleen, thanks for having me on. I feel great after that intro.
Absolutely. Well, it's an inspiring story, and one of the things that I love so much about your story is that it actually gives the choices that we make have consequences. And some of the choices in your story really resonated with me. So I cannot wait for our listeners to hear about some of these. Before we get into some of the things that you're doing now, let's just go back to who you were before this big, bold pivot, like the life that you were building and those kind of things. Who is Jason?
Yeah, I was a insecure, high-achieving business guy who was addicted to success, addicted to growth, addicted to accolades and where I stood and my ego, my feelings and my attitude all would rise and fall based on how well I was doing in the previous week or two. And so in the previous week or two in sales or just promotions and that, it was really fueling me. And then shortly after, I had to keep that. I had to keep that fix going. I had to keep feeding it in order to feel worthy and feel enough. And I was blessed. I was very good in sports in high school, team captain of football and track, and then went on to play for trying out a couple years at Division III with football and track, and then found direct sales and started popping off big and loving it and realizing, wow, I can really have a lot of choice in my destiny and my success and just have a lot of control over this, and became addicting, became a problem. So in my 20s, Kathleen, it was for sure a work hard, party hard mentality. There was, a lot of fun, a lot of success, a lot of income coming in, but I still was a Jesus guy, but he was like 10th priority. And so really wasn't number one. So that was in my 20s, basically 1 foot in the world and one foot out. So that's who I was prior.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think of some of my experiences when I was growing up, because you did have a measure of faith growing up, right? But then later you sort of had to discover that for yourself. That's something that resonates with me as well, because that 1 foot in, 1 foot out just doesn't work, does it? It just doesn't work.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what was it that helped you get to the place where you realized you had to make a change? So you kept going along on this road for a while, and then you met a girl, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So there were a few big moments in my life that got me to where I'm at now, but the first big epiphany and wake up call that God had for me that you're hinting towards is I was in my 20s. I was having a lot of fun. I was partying a lot, and I met a girl, and it was all based on pleasure, sex, fun, partying, alcohol, all this stuff. And it was pleasurable for the moment, but it was like, the devil really got a hold of me and really like tricked me. And I was blinded by this superficial fun that was pleasurable, but it wasn't a long lasting, deep love. So I was engulfed in it. She was not a believer, great person, just not a believer, and someone who really wasn't understanding my kind of what I wanted for the future, my morals. And when I tried to like put the brakes on some things, she definitely didn't understand. Trying to get her to church, definitely didn't understand, really resisted it. Most Sundays she was hungover and wouldn't come with me to church, and really pulled me away from really who I wanted to be. But I wasn't woken up enough yet. And so I got engaged within 6 months. I had three, also Kathleen, I surrounded myself with the wrong people. I had three non-Christian roommates I was living with. So they were all partying. There were many nights where they were out partying together, my girlfriend at the time, and then some of my roommates, and I wasn't. And so that was also a red flag I should have noticed. But anyway, it was just, I was very blinded. And thankfully, I was woken up and shooken up where my parents and our premarital counselors both were like, we're seeing some stuff here.
Yeah.
I see where you're going. I see where she's at. If she doesn't change, would you marry her? And I said flat out, hell no. Like, I will not. And like, that is not something I want. And I realized, yeah, what if she doesn't? And actually, this is really tough. And they just shared with me how marriage can be tough and all the different ups and downs of marriage. And I thought, well, invites are already sent out.
Yeah.
Deposits are already put down. I'm really nervous, but I feel like I need to call this thing off.
Yeah.
And I even thought, I even told her, well, when it came up in discussion, a rough morning we were having, and I was like, I'm not saying, I brought it up. I'm like, I'm not saying this is no to you. I'm just saying I'd rather delay a wedding than call off a marriage, which the route we're on, unequally yoked, like we aren't on the same page long-term. We're having fun now, but not on the same page. So that was really tough for me, Kathleen. That was really tough for me to do. And thank God I did, because a lot of fruit came from that, obviously, and her true colors showed. I was kind of depressed for a little bit, figuring things out. It was just a year of no dating, no partying, no nothing, just working on myself, diving back into the church, getting refocused. And that was a year of kind of, I don't know if I'd say surrender, but a year of recalibrating. And then sure enough, within a year later, I got a DM from one of my old coworkers who went to high school with my now wife, and kind of could connect us that way.
I'd love to weigh in on that first, because to me, God does work things out for good. And even when we make the wrong choices, he can still lead us back to something good. But I applaud your courage there, because I think especially in our culture today, people are hesitant to take those commands so seriously. I was one that was unequally yoked in my first marriage, and I paid a consequence for that. I would never trade in my children or, even some wonderful years, but there's a reason God commands us to do that. And I love that you were able to listen to that wise counsel. And also, just speaking to the thing about the wrong influences, I remember I always tell my kids I had friends in college that were good for me and ones that weren't good for me. And both of them were fun. It wasn't that they seemed like these horrible people, but it's like the word tells us bad company corrupts good character. And so we have to realize that that's happening. Like, it's happening whether we realize it or not. There's influence happening. So I really applaud that you were able to listen to that and make a choice that was obviously not fun for a while, right?
No.
Then it, all these other things led into the place where you got to meet your wife of today. And that's just incredible. And your children and everything else. So the good decision that leads to that fruit is just powerful. So what happens after this? You take that year, you're rebuilding, and then what?
Yeah. So, diving back into church, joining some men's groups as well, which really helped me stay grounded and to really go deeper in my faith. And that's really where I started, Kathleen, making my faith my own. I was raised great Christian home, parents, bless their heart, they were great. And they did well, and they raised us in a Christian home, but it was more for them. I did a lot of things for them. It wasn't truly my personal relationship with Jesus. Until then, God rocked me and really saved me in this. And then I started diving in. And then I was just with her. After our first date or second date was to go to each other's churches. So that was fun. And for a while we were double dipping, going to her church and my church for like a year, which talk about a great foundation relationship, very different from both being hungover on Sundays with my previous relationship to now both going to church on Sundays. And that was great. She'd gone through some stuff too and figuring out her faith. And it was just, we met at the perfect time of God had been preparing us and working on us and setting us up for meeting each other. And so we got engaged within a year and then married 8 months later. And again, as you know, marriage isn't easy, but it's been amazing. A lot of growth. It's been about, almost 10 years now, and 2 boys out of it, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. That are just amazing. I'm so thankful. And I look back at all the ups and downs, all of the times where I felt like, what's next, or what's going on, or what now, God, and how he had his hands all through that. But I'd say, relationship wise, that's what happened next. But there's more to the story of my faith and work.
Yeah. So let's talk more about when you were talking about your corporate, chasing after that, and
Yep.
that's growing, it's building, you're having worldly success
Mhm.
in somebody's definition. But at some point along the way, that must have felt like it wasn't enough, or it was pushing you too hard. Explain how that you came to a place where like, no more of this.
Yeah. Well, I think as a high achieving guy, it was a drug for me. It was my addiction. And so I was consumed by it. In direct sales, I work at Cutco Cutlery. So it's a lot of training, a lot of recruiting, a lot of development. I crushed it as a rep throughout college, went on to be a manager when I graduated, and I loved it. I loved building a team. I loved pouring into people. I loved giving them all this attention and just seeing the fruit of that, inspiring them. And it was great, but it was a 24/7 thing. And it was something that I loved doing, and I don't regret any of it. However, when you get married, you have to set some other boundaries, and then kids, you have to set some other boundaries. You have less time. It can't just be, me 24/7 ready to dive in my business. So I was doing great. I was in the Hall of Fame, a top district manager. And then in 2019, I got promoted to be a division manager, which wasn't just overseeing my like Green Bay, Wisconsin area. It was now most of Wisconsin. And so great promotion, Hall of Fame. You think I'm happy making decent income. And then, just, it wasn't enough. I wanted more. And then it was a tough transition for me as well. Very different transition to now be, running basically two organizations in one. And that was just too much for me. And then also with my desires transitioning more to faith, which just every year as I've been married and I've been with my wife, Abby, it's like every year we're challenging each other. We're fasting, we're doing things that I'm more in the church to grow together. And the more I dove into my faith, the less it aligned with this hustle grind mentality in direct sales. And so I love it. I'm still doing it. It allows me to live this awesome life that I'm so thankful for. But I had to switch my mentality and switch my the way I was doing things. So in 2019, I got promoted to be division manager, and COVID hit, then a couple kids, and I realized I can't keep doing this. One, I'm in the same place each year. I'm not growing as a person, which crushed my confidence. I was growing as a person, but with the numbers and with my accolades and status in the company. 5 years of that was just beating down. We had our first son. We're all virtual. It's COVID in 2020. And I'm like, this little kid is so awesome. I love being a dad. This is amazing. And I started just wanting to spend more time with him than be in front of a screen working. And then when our second child came home, my oldest, I'm like, you're huge. It's been 2 years. How are you so big? And it just really worked on me to just open up my heart and be like, man, I just want to spend so much time with you boys and my family that I'm just not willing to grind it out anymore.
Well, it sounds like there was a shift in what your definition of success was, or
yes,
purpose, or meaning like it didn't, set the same way anymore.
It was a complete change. Yeah. And it was where now I'm instead of thinking, how can I work more and sell more? It's how can I work less and still sell more? So what's funny enough is 2 years ago, I told my manager, hey, I don't know if I'm going to leave the company, but I definitely can't keep doing this position the way I'm doing it. So went through it for another year, and he made it easy for me. I got a demotion, and I've been so happy. And when I got the demotion in 2024, we had our best year ever. And then this year, we already had our best year ever with a month left. And it's just funny how God works. Like when I finally surrendered and released everything, how now all of a sudden some of the blessings are coming in. I'm not saying that's an exact direct correlation, but it's funny how that works. Coincidental that when I finally surrendered, there's some other things that happened in 2023 I can get into as well. But with the work side of things, where it's like, okay, God, I'm going to actually Sabbath. I'm going to actually treat you number one and not put work as my idol anymore. And then, okay, good job, Jason. Here you go. Here's some blessings.
That's so powerful, because I think we fall for the lie, don't we, Jason, that we have to keep pushing the pedal to the metal. We kind of try to keep with all this. And the truth is, it's exactly the opposite, right? How you talk about you were building your kingdom, but then you started to build God's kingdom. And there's such a shift in that. There are so many wonderful theologians over the history that have talked about the power of surrender. The greatness of a man's power is in the measure of his surrender. That was William Booth. And I think that we think that power is we think of it wrong. If we understood that by surrender, his power starts to come to us in a way that's not striving, that's not stressed out, burnout, fried all the time, but is in co-laboring with him, how powerful can that be? And it sounds like that's exactly what you have been doing. And I remember about your story. Tell us about the youth being invited to help with the youth and some of the
Yep.
things you did in 2023. You were talking about discipleship and stuff, which is so important. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. Well, so all this is happening around the similar time of demotion. 2023 happens where in the summer, so a byproduct of me hustling, grinding, stressed, a lot of pressure on myself, wanting to move up and want to turn off this brain of like, I can do more. I can always reach out. I can continue to build. I was numbing myself for like a decade, Kathleen, with either a couple of drinks at night or a weed gummy. It was something where I justified it as I'm not getting drunk, I'm not getting blazed, I'm fine, I'm chilling. This is for my family, right? This is a shut off. This is I'm present, when really, I wasn't. And I knew it became a problem when I was hiding it from my wife, and also in some couples counseling when I was sharing some of my struggles with that, or justification, I should say, with it. She's like, these sound like some addictive tendencies. And I was blown away, Kathleen. I could not believe it. What? I'm not an addict. What are you talking about? I'm fine. I can control this. I'm all good. But, I knew there was some truth behind that. And from couples counselor and from my wife, and plus I knew like it wasn't the best thing to be doing. I cut cold turkey basically. In 2023, I do have some mentors at church and some friends and a couple guys that helped me through that. And he challenged me to go home and throw all of my weed gummies away. Yeah. And I'm like, do I really want to do that? And that's all where I knew, man, maybe this is something I'm hanging on to too much. And so I went home, threw them away, basically stopped having any drinks, any weed gummies, anything at home. Also have like a glass of wine here and there for special occasions, or, if we're on a trip or something. But yeah, nothing really at home. It's been completely cleansed since summer of 2023. And I also, around the same time, Kathleen, was praying, search me, break me, send me, God. Mm-hmm. So search me, take see where I'm missing, where my ego is, all this, and then break me and what needs to be broken, as well as send me to where you want me to go. The whole Hineni thing as well, right? Of like, God, just use me, I surrender. And I felt the call to get rebaptized, because now it's been my own faith for the last decade. It hasn't been for my family. And so I got rebaptized in August of 2023. And then December of 2023, the church said, hey, we have an opening for a young adults ministry. And my wife already has been a part-time pastor, as well as leading our church's coffee shop and as a general manager. And so we dove in. I didn't want to. I thought, man, that I don't want to see that ministry fall or not be there. And Abby and I have done a lot with the youth, a lot of experience. God's for sure prepared us for this. It all makes sense. I just don't want to do it, but I feel like we really need to. So we went in there and said, yeah, we'll take it over. And it was great. Started with about 15 young adults, like 18 to 29-year-olds. And then my wife is more of the leader of that as an associate pastor. And I was a helper as well. But we grew it to about 50 to 60 people. And it's been awesome. Dozens and dozens of salvations. A couple hundred people have gone through that in the Green Bay, 920 area. And then just earlier this year of 2025, we got called out here to Seattle to help our pastors plant a church out here. So it's been crazy to see God work and God prepare us. And finally, when I surrendered, it's funny how everything else has just aligned since then.
That is incredibly powerful. And I could see you being really good with the youth. I mean, just your personality and the way that you express yourself and stuff. And, and it's also like, there's nothing wrong with success in business. There's nothing wrong with, working hard. And I think when you can model that, but then model the other thing, which is seek first the kingdom, now you have like a super powerful witness for those young people to see possible to do something. God has given us these talents. It's like you think about those talents can be used for different things, but when you use them for his kingdom, how he multiplies them. I mean, that's what your story says to me. So I'd love to get into what gave you the inspiration for the book. And I know this is connected with some discipleship as well, correct?
Yeah.
Jesus people.
Yeah. So I would say, I've been practicing. So back to, it's funny how this all works together here, but so when I called off that first engagement or the first wedding, that fall of 2012 was a big time in my life where I dove back into church, started doing some morning routines, started getting some habits and boundaries for me. And so really since then, I've been practicing evening routines, morning routines, just figuring out almost like my Jesus journey became like a business of like, how can I make it more systemized? How can I make it just more productive and just better for me?
Break that down. What routines are looking like?
Yeah, so a few things. So something I call the sacred start. Okay, so it's a sacred start. It's in I have the book, the Wake Up Jesus People, Life-Giving Disciplines to Awaken the Warrior Within. And so part of it is a sacred start. So every day, pretty much since the fall of 2012, every day waking up to do prayer, journaling, affirmations, Bible time, and exercise. So every day, pretty much for a couple hours. It started, as like an hour routine, but it's moved to, I just love it and I crave it. And so it's a couple hours every morning. I do that. And it's just been so huge for my health, my happiness, and my relationship with God to have that sacred time, that set apart time that is just with him and myself. And by the time I'm done with that, around 7:15, the boys start waking up, I'm good to go. Like I'm battle ready, warrior ready to take on the battles of this world and the battles of being a husband and father and business leader. So it's like, I feel like I'm armored up and ready to roll. So I love
the armor of God. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is spiritual disciplines, because people, if they knew, they sometimes think they're legalistic or, they're this or that. They don't have to be that at all, right? And if you're strengthening your spirit, that means that your flesh is not going to have, there's a reason we're supposed to crucify the flesh, because the flesh wants to rule us and will rule us. And that's where all the addictions and all these behaviors come from. But if so to the spirit, to your point, when you get up and you're spending time with God, you're sowing to the spirit. It's like the two wolves analogy, right? You're feeding one or you're feeding the other. And so look at your life when you start doing this. I mean, there's change, right? There's consequences, and they're good consequences. Your spirit is stronger. So I love that. So that started happening. And then what?
Yeah, so that was fall of 2012. And then I just saw the fruit from it. And so throughout practicing over a decade, and I'm sharing with church what I do, and people are loving it. And I'm leading some of the youth as well. I had a couple spiritual mentors at church go, you should start a life group with that. And I said, all right, let's do it. So this is before a book, just like off the top of my head, things I've practiced, things I've done. I came up with a 7-week discipleship group, and it was Wake Up Jesus Guys. And so it was mainly for guys. It was 10 to 15 guys in there at a time, running about 4 of those a year. And so did that for a couple years and just saw so much fruit. I'm like, this is so great, but it's limited to the 10 or so guys who are in this. So then I thought, I'd written a book prior, it wasn't very good. And I thought, okay, God's already prepared me to write a book. So I have the confidence to write another one. I have so much content and experience to write another one, but now this is for his kingdom. It's not for my kingdom. So I started writing it. And what do you know, 2024, when all these things started happening, every day since January 1st for 30 minutes, I woke up at 4:30 a.m. instead of 5, just to stay disciplined and get it done and it's not going to get done later in the day. So just get it done. So I spent about 6 months writing it, and then another year editing it and preparing it, and then finally released July of 2025. And during that process, Kathleen, God also, as I had written it and I was praying and fasting about what's next, what am I missing, God? And throughout that, he said, well, you already journal, you use other journals, you teach these guys in this discipleship group to journal, just create your own journal. So then I just like to put it together, a simple format of the Wake Up Jesus People journal, very simple format that is basically every day I'm asking myself, what am I grateful for? 3 things. What were the highlights of yesterday? 3 things. What did God teach me yesterday? What dream am I praying that God brings to life? And then my 3 prayers and intentions for today, and then 2 daily affirmations. So doing that every day has really helped me stay grounded as well. And then also what you'll probably get into as well is the 44 challenge came out of that, because I left after the 7-week course. I left them with, all right, guys, this is just the start. Let's have a challenge. I call it a 40-day faith fast. Wasn't very cool when I started it. And then again, throughout the months of thinking about it, praying about it, and deciding what to do with it, came up with the cool, look at this logo, look at that, the 44 challenge. And it's basically a Jesus version of 75 hard.
Before we talk about that, because I do want to go into that, can you speak to our listeners about what these things are doing, because I know for me, that's being transformed by the renewing of the mind is what you're exposing yourself to,
Yeah.
what you're putting inside. So when you're writing and journaling and when
Yep.
you're saying these things, words are spirit, they are impacting your mind and your heart. Like, speak to that, because I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful that is, or what the potential is there.
100%. Yeah. So going through each section and do that. So one, gratitude. So the devil can get so into our minds and mess us up with all the negativity and depression and worry. And there's so much against that. There's so much affirmation. Some affirmations in the Bible about that. And like having gratitude, having peace, having joy, believing in God. And so when I can remember every day to start my day off with 3 great things, no matter how crappy I feel or the previous day is, it's rewiring my mind to start the day of what am I thankful for? And then highlights of yesterday. Highlights of yesterday. So that the day goes by so quick. And I actually have to pretty much every day, I can easily write down 1 or 2 things, but I have to look back and actually sit down and think for like 20 seconds of, that was so great. Oh yeah, playing horse with my son. Or, that walk with my wife was great. These little things that you don't think about the next day unless you actually take time to think about it. So it's cool to look back at this and go, wow, look at all these highlights of my life.
And intentionally recoding your brain to look for those tender mercies, to look for those things instead of to go immediately to quote unquote problems, issues, challenges. Yep. So powerful.
Yeah. And then the next one, what did God teach me yesterday? So I want to learn lessons, and I want to also see where's God in that. And sometimes it's not always a God thing, but it's what did I learn yesterday? But also thinking back, what podcast did I listen to? What did I read in the Bible? What was a big takeaway yesterday, or what's realization from God? And then with what dream am I praying for that God brings to life, is I always want to be believing in and thinking about an abundant future and excited to see what God's going to do. And when I put on paper, it's almost like a mini prayer of like, I'm praying for this. I'd like this. It's a dream. God, I would love this. And it reminds me to pray for it. Yeah. And then the last couple, prayers and intentions for the day. As a business guy, I want to make sure, what are the 3 things that if everything goes off the wall, what are the 3 things that I know this will be a successful day if I get this done? So what are those 3 things? And sometimes it's a result. Sometimes it's a prayer. Something I hope that happens. And then finally, daily affirmations. So writing down scripture, pretty much, scripture, something just to remind myself that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, right? And I can accomplish great things, and all the doubts and insecurities I have can go away because I have God, I have scripture breathing it into me, and I feel good for the day.
I love that. That has so many rich components to it. And it's such a great combination that you put together. And really, like all of them, I'm a big believer in, without vision, the people perish. Our imagination is super powerful. Some people think that, having a vision board or something is some kind of new age thing. And it's not Christian. I don't agree with that at all. I think that God wants us to set our minds above. And that includes good things that we want to happen. Our life is unfolding in a way that is abundant and free. We should believe for that. We should seek that. There's nothing wrong with us doing that. And I love what you say there. And especially just writing those things down and saying them out loud. There's a book that says your body believes every word you say. If you're saying these things, I'm fearfully, wonderfully made. I'm, worthy in the sight of God because I'm his righteousness. Some of that is going to make it through. That is good. And I'm sure you're seeing fruit from that. So from the book and from the journal and stuff, from the people that it's impacting. So so tell us more. I want to hear more about the 40-day challenge and break that down. I know it's 4 different parts, right?
Yeah. So the 40 Forge challenge, it's a 40-day challenge. And I feel like we all do these challenges for whether it's 75 hard or it's for a diet or it's a marathon training, whatever it is. And I thought, okay, there's all these ones out there that are non-Jesus ones. I want to challenge people to have a Jesus challenge. And a lot of times we just need to wake up and have something to shoot for, something to push for. Or otherwise it's easy to coast, and one day turns into a week, turns into a year, turns into your life. And so how can I wake people up with this challenge to kind of help change their identity? The goal is that they go through this. There's 3 versions of it. They go through whatever version they want, and then they're woken up and it becomes their identity, where it's not a challenge anymore. It's more of just who they are. And 40 days, like when we think about goals, we think about missions. Like there's, why does the number matter? How many days is it to actually create a habit? There's a lot of studies out there that whether it's 21 days or 66 days or whatever it may be, I'm going biblical. So 40 in the Bible, there's over 100 examples of 40 being used in the Bible. And whether it's Moses at Mount Sinai before he received the 10 Commandments, or Israel wandering around the wilderness for 40 years before they went to the promised land, the flood, right? 40 days and nights. Jesus fasting in the wilderness after being baptized for 40 days. Jesus post-resurrection was on this earth for 40 days. So each instance, Kathleen, of 40, marked often a time of testing, preparation, or transition where God prepared his people for a new stage of his plan.
Yeah.
So that's why I put 40 days. And really, I guess I'll share with you just the easy version. I had two harder versions, which I can share if you want. I guess I'll share the hard version so you can see how intense it can be. And then I have a lot of people that I feel like need something like smaller to at least get their feet wet before they go into a big challenge. So I'll share with you the hard one. You might understand why I'd come up with an easier one, but there's a 40 Forge hard and a 40 Forge light. And 40 Forge hard is the Daniel fast plus protein.
Okay.
No alcohol, no drugs, or no porn, right? 3 things that a lot of people are caught up on or holding them back. No social media scrolling, 40 minutes of exercise daily, read 10 pages of the Bible daily, right? Some of these challenges have read 10 pages of self-help book daily. The best self-help book in the world is the Bible. Pray daily, journal daily, and then do your sacred start every morning, drink a gallon of water daily, and worship music only. So that's the 40 Forge hard version. It's a lot. And the light is a little bit less and still pretty intense. So I basically came out with, which I'll share with you, the 40 Forge Ignite, which I just started this year, hearing that a lot of people were like, I don't know if I can do all of that. So the Ignite Challenge, it's to get you started, to really ignite this. If you want to join harder challenges, you can, but it's still no alcohol, no drugs, and no porn. It's just exercise at least 15 minutes a day. Could be a YouTube video, it could be a mile walk, just something simple, get the body moving every day. Bible daily, get your Bible daily, and pray daily. So it's just those 4 things to get you started. And I run that 6 times a year. And it's a 40-day challenge, and people can sign up at 40forge.com.
That's really exciting. A couple of things I want to ask you about that. First of all, I love that you are incorporating exercise into this, which is not always something that people focus on in the spiritual focus. I think it should be, obviously. My husband would love hearing you say that, because I'm not as good at exercising, regularly as he is. But for sure, our bodies are a temple. Speak to that. Why is exercise so important for us?
Well, besides all the health benefits, so what I think, Kathleen, in a lot of areas that I speak about, I'm not the expert by any means. I feel like I know a little bit more than most, but I'm definitely not near the experts. So follow the Andrew Hubermans and the Gary Breccas and all those gurus out there for the health, like all the science behind it. But in general, you're going to feel healthier. You're going to live longer. You're going to have more energy. You're going to a lot of times we don't do things because we're tired, right? We're a crappy parent because we're tired. We're a crappy spouse because we're tired. We're a bad worker because we're tired. We're not following through on things. We're not in our Bible or praying because we're tired. Well, get in the gym and get healthy. God designed us to be healthy and thriving for 120 years. So why are we all dying off at like 60, 70 years old, right?
Habitual, right? It's just habitual things. It's habitual that the Bible commands us to crucify the flesh. We're supposed to do that. And I remember hearing you talk about how the days are broken down. Like, it's hard at first, but it won't always be hard. So if you can change your mental set about that, right? Like, you literally change. You can't not be changed.
Right. Yeah. And it just becomes a habit. And so for me, it's not a matter of if I'm going to work out that day. It's just what is the workout. So it's like it's not as rigid. It's like having boundaries, but with flexibility. So it's not that I'm going to read the Bible every single day. It's just what book am I in? I'm going to exercise every single day. It just, is it a hard workout? Is it a sauna and Pilates? Is it a run? Like, what is it? It allows you some flexibility, but there's no doubt in my mind. It's never like, oh, am I going to work out tomorrow? Am I going to do my Bible tomorrow? Yeah. No, of course I am. It's just what section or what part. And the big thing I'd like to share with people, to go back to your question about health, is that, so, it's also sluggardness. Being a sluggard and gluttony is a sin too.
Yeah.
You can't hide that one, right? As much as a porn addiction or as, things like that. So some Jesus people, and it's going to probably offend some people here, but it's like if you want to be a witness, and my thought too is if I'm going to be a witness, I want to have nothing in the way to have them judge me or get in the way of me being a witness to them. So if you're witnessing to someone who's really healthy, and you're unhealthy, they're going to automatically, and again, everyone's beautiful. All souls are great. You aren't a bad person because you're out of shape. However, you're going to be able to be a stronger, better witness for more people if you are healthier, because they're going to see, wow, you have a great life. You're healthy. You're energized. You're a great father, a great son, all that stuff. So it just helps when you come to witnessing, and you might, miss out on some awesome people you could witness to, but they just don't respect you because your health habits, why they respect you for your Jesus habits. And another point with that, the last one I'll say is that think about the impact of the world if all the great Jesus people lived for an extra 10 years. Think of all the people who died too early. What if all the Billy Grahams, everyone who was a strong Jesus person had an extra 10 years of discipleship, an extra 10 years pouring into their family, an extra 10 years serving in the church? What would that impact be? And a lot of it comes down to their health habits.
I love that. So a couple questions for you. We're getting close on time. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to tell us where we can find all these wonderful resources. But I love when I keep thinking about Wake Up Jesus people, I think of a quote, the glory of God is man fully alive. And I have to look up the guy that said that. But we are meant to live a life abundant and free. But to your point earlier, so many of us end up numbing out and seeking comfort in these things that can't fill us. They can't do it for us, but we get stuck there. So what would you say to the person who is struggling right now, who maybe feels like, oh, can I really do this? Could I really make it happen? What kind of encouragement could you give to that person and invite them into this in a way that would inspire them?
Yeah, great question. I'd say start small and get on a streak. So by that, you may think of all this as really daunting. You may look at some things I'm doing or Kathleen's doing, and you're like, oh my gosh, that'd be so great. Well, we didn't start like this. This took a long time and a lot of failure and a lot of working on it. A lot of, discipleship and discipline come from the same root word. And so discipleship and being a disciple of Jesus is discipline. So if you want to be better as a Jesus person, you want to be better with your discipline. And so what's the minimum you can commit to? So maybe you want to read through the whole Bible in a year. Okay. And that seems kind of daunting. Can you commit to reading one verse a day? And that's it. Or open up your Bible app, reading one verse a day. What's the minimum you can commit to? Now, will you probably read more most days? Yeah. But no matter how you're feeling, no matter what, when you can get on a streak of 5 days in a row, 10 days in a row, 50 days in a row, and now you're like, I cannot break this streak. I really don't feel like it, but I'm going to at least read the verse a day. Cool. Oh, where does that come from? Oh yeah, let's read that full chapter. What do you know? Or going to the gym. How about 5 minutes? Walk on the treadmill 5 minutes a day. That's it. Well, when you go to the gym and you go on the treadmill, you're probably going to stay there longer. Probably going to start running, going, this is pretty good. I like this. No, I might as well lift some weights too. You're there for an hour. So instead of going, the ideal is an hour every day, but what's realistic for you daily that you can commit to? And I use an app called Habit Share. And so it allows me to keep these streaks of good habits and just different things that also has allowed me to get, streaks of hundreds, if not even some are in the thousands of having these streaks. There's no way I'm going to break it. And then also a byproduct of that is that most days I do a lot more, right? Than what the minimum streak is. And then you're going to feel great, by the way. So speaking to the listener, you're going to feel great. You get on a 10-day habit of walking every day. It's not that hard. But when you do it, you're like, this is great. I want to do more of this. Wow, being in the Bible, I'm really feeling connected to God more. What do you know? I'm going to do this more. And then the byproduct as a parent is now my son is on these streaks and he has 70 days in a row of getting in the Bible app for kids. And it's so cool to see that fruit from that. And that wasn't my intention, my initial intention. But now him seeing me do this every day, now he's doing it. He's 5 years old and it's so cool. So I just challenge the listener to anything you want, start so small and start in a streak. Let some people know about it. Get some encouragement. Get some other helpers who maybe want to do it with you. Maybe a 40 Forge Challenge Ignite version. And then you start small and watch what happens. And within a month or two, all of a sudden, you're like, I want to level this up. This is great.
Well, I love that. And the whole time that you've been talking about that makes me think of your subtitle for your book. It's Waking Up the Warrior Within. And it ties into something, we have the Holy Spirit in us, but for so many of us, the Holy Spirit is latent because we're quenching, we're grieving, we're blocking. But when you start doing these things, for every listener that's hearing this, hey, you are waking up. You're yielding to the Spirit of God by sowing to the Spirit with these disciplines. And so that the difficulty becomes less and less. And now you've got the river of water, living water flowing through you. And so it becomes a flow, and that's real. That's not something that somebody made up. It's actually something you experience. And I talk a lot about fasting, not that I'm the world's expert or anything like that, but it has changed my life. Every time you do any kind of fast, you're giving strength to the spirit and you're subduing the soul. And hey, the soul is where all your unbelief, all your fear, that's where all that is. You want us to do that. So there's wonderful incentive. Jason, I love the things that you're doing. And I can't imagine. I mean, I would like to do this too. Like, that's combining so many elements. And if you do that for that many days, it's not possible for your mind to be changed. I've read that even just reading a single paragraph changes your brain. Like, every single thing changes our brain. So what you're doing is like a boot camp for transformation by the renewing of the mind. It's a boot camp for spiritual awakening. And so just so thrilling. Well, tell us, how do we find you and your resources?
Yeah, everything can be found at wakeupjesuspeople.com. So wakeupjesuspeople.com, the book, the journal, some swag is on there. You got the 44 challenge signups. That is the main hub for all the info. And it's just my name, Jason Heinritz, on most social medias.
Well, Jason, it has been phenomenal. I love what you're doing, and I know that your work is impacting so many lives. So if you're listening and you've been stuck or unsure where to start, take this conversation as your invitation. Start small if you need to, but start. Thanks again for joining us, Jason. And as for everyone else, remember, this is your place where you can come, receive your healing, and then carry that healing to the world. Healed to heal.